You check your phone before your feet hit the floor. The notification light is blinking. Your heart does something small but real. A little spike, a little pull. You don't know why it feels urgent. It just does. And that feeling, that completely automatic, totally irrational sense that you need to know right now, that is not a you problem. That is a 300,000-year-old problem wearing a modern disguise. Your brain is ancient. Not metaphorically ancient, literally ancient. The hardware running your thoughts, your fears, your cravings, your social anxiety, it was built for a world that no longer exists. A world of predators and famines and small bands of people where being liked wasn't a preference. It was survival. And here you are, walking around in the 21st century with that same brain. The mismatch is enormous, and almost nobody talks about it. Cast your mind back, not to last year, much further, 200,000 years further. Your ancestors lived in small nomadic groups, usually between 50 and 150 people. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar spent years studying these group sizes across dozens of human populations and found something striking. The social brain can only meaningfully track around 150 relationships. It became known as Dunbar's number. That is the world your brain was calibrated for. Not 8 billion people, not a city of millions, not a social media platform with 2 billion users, 150 faces. When you feel overwhelmed by the world, part of what you are experiencing is a brain trying to process a social universe it was never designed for. But it goes deeper than that. Think about the last time you ate something you knew you shouldn't. A second slice, a late-night handful of whatever was in the cupboard. You were not hungry, you knew that, and you did it anyway. Here is why. For most of human history, calorie-dense food was rare and life-saving. When your ancestors found sugar, in fruit, in honey, almost nowhere else, eating as much as possible was the correct decision. The brain rewarded that behavior massively. Neuroscientist Robert Sapolsky has written extensively about this. The brain's reward circuitry was shaped by scarcity, not abundance. That circuitry does not update when the environment changes. So now your ancient reward system treats every candy bar like a rare survival opportunity. It is not a lack of willpower. It is a prehistoric brain doing exactly what it was built to do. The same logic applies to your stress response. Your ancestors' survival depended on responding to threats instantly. The brain developed a system for this. The amygdala fires, cortisol floods the bloodstream, heart rate spikes, muscles tense, fight or flight. Extraordinarily effective. For a predator, for a deadline email, it is catastrophic. The body does not distinguish between a lion and a performance review. Researcher Daniel Levitin describes this as the brain's negativity bias, the tendency to weight threats far more heavily than rewards. If your ancestor underestimated a predator, they died. So the brain evolved to assume the worst. That same bias is what makes you replay an embarrassing moment from 3 years ago at 2 a.m. That is not neurosis. That is ancient threat monitoring doing its job in the wrong century. And then there is belonging. In your ancestors' world, being excluded from the group was a death sentence. You could not survive alone. So the brain built an extraordinarily sensitive alarm for social rejection. Researcher Naomi Eisenberger at UCLA used brain scans to show something remarkable. Social exclusion activates the same neural regions as physical pain. Being ignored, being left out. Your brain processes these the same way it processes a broken bone. This is why social anxiety is so hard to reason your way out of. To a very old and very deep part of your brain, your status in the group was once the difference between living and dying. So when you post something and compulsively check how many people liked it, you are not being shallow. You are running ancient social software that once told your ancestors whether they were safe or in danger. Here is the twist that changes everything. Evolutionary biologist Randolph Nessick coined the term evolutionary mismatch to describe exactly this. Ancient adaptations that no longer fit the modern environment. The anxiety that cripples you at a party was once the alertness that kept you alive. The restlessness that makes it impossible to sit still was once the drive that pushed your ancestors to explore new territories. These are not flaws. They are features from a different world. And when you understand the source of an impulse, you can work with it instead of against it. When you know your brain is built for small communities, you can stop trying to manage the entire internet and invest in the 10 or 20 people who actually matter to your life. When you know your stress response was built for short, acute threats, you can build movement and rest into your days. Because those are the original off switches for the system. Your ancestors got your entire lineage here. Every single one of them survived long enough to pass their brain forward, all the way to you. That brain is not your enemy. It is just old. And old things sometimes need new instructions. The notification light is still blinking. Your heart still does that small, urgent thing. But now you know what that feeling is. It is not the present. It is the past, reaching forward through 300,000 years, tapping you on the shoulder, asking if the predator is still out there. You can check. You can put the phone down. You are the first version of this brain that gets to choose.